AITA for sleeping with another girl after she told me that she didn't want to become official? I've been casually seeing this girl Amy for a few months now. We've been sleeping together and we might occasionally go out together, but for the most part, it's just late-night hookups. Even though our relationship is mostly just sex, I do enjoy her company outside of that, and she's definitely got more to offer. A few days ago, we were laying in bed and I told her that I wanted to take things more seriously between us. She said, "I'm flattered. I really like you. The sex is great. You're a great guy. I want us to keep seeing each other, etc. But I'm not in a position to be your girlfriend or take a relationship seriously." She basically gave the "it's not you, it's me" speech, but in many more words. It stung hearing that because I did want something more with her, but it is what it is. I'll take the L and move on. One of my boss's clients is this rich bastard who throws these big parties at his house 3-4 times a year. The previous 2 parties that he threw, my boss invited me, and I took Amy as my +1, but I obviously didn't want to go with her this time. I hit up some people to see if anyone was interested, and this girl Lisa was down. Lisa and Amy turned out to be friends, not close friends, but they are connected on social media. I don't have social media, and I had no idea they knew each other. We ended up going together and hooked up by the end of the night. The next day, Amy starts blowing up my phone and starts going off on me for partying with another girl. At this point, I didn't even know how she knew, but then she said that she saw Lisa's Insta stories or whatever it was. She was absolutely furious, but I told her that she had no right to be. She's not my girlfriend. She doesn't have any say at what I do or who I do it with. Amy asked me if I slept with Lisa, and I said that it was none of her business. She was absolutely raging, but I told her that I can do whatever I want with whoever I want because I'm single. AITA for threatening my wife with divorce after she quit her job to be a trad wife. Me, 34M, and my wife, 33F, have 2 kids together, 11M and 9F. Me and my wife have been together for 12 years and married for 8. Around a year ago, I noticed my wife increasingly sending me these trad wife or traditional housewife TikToks. I have nothing against that type of relationship, but I don't think it makes sense for our current family situation. I do earn quite a bit more than my wife and enough to sustain our family on my own, but I don't see the need to do so. I work 80% and my wife 50%, and besides Wednesdays where the both of us are working, either one of us is always home for the kids. I could work a 100% and let my wife be SAHM, but again, both of my kids are attending school, and in my mind, there is no need for my wife to be at home 24/7. She got increasingly pushy about it over the past 2 months, and again, I just kept on telling her that there wasn't any need for that. And if we did decide to go down that road, what would she do during the hours my kids attended school? I know damn well our house doesn't need to be clean for 6 hours a day. She would constantly try to butter me up with, "You would have dinner ready every day when coming home from work," and something about unlimited blowjobs or some BS like that. Again, in the nicest way possible, I would remind her that our kids weren't toddlers and our current work-life schedule allowed us to function perfectly fine. We got into a pretty heated argument 2 weeks ago about it, and my wife completely stopped having sex with me to show me what I would be missing out on. She's basically been treating me like a roommate since. I just thought she would get over it. And this was just a phase, but God, was I wrong. I came home from work yesterday and saw a bunch of presents on the dining table. At first, I thought they were all for me since my birthday was in a week, but I saw the labels on them addressed to my wife. I read one of the letters attached to one of the presents. The last sentence on it was literally, "It was so a pleasure working alongside. You and I wish you all the best moving forwards." I thought this was some sick prank. A few minutes later, my wife just casually strolled into the living room, acting like nothing was wrong. I guess she saw my mad expression and had the audacity to tell me that, "You'll get over it." I just lost it. I just left without saying another word and went to my parents' house. I feel absolutely disrespected. Why the fuck would my wife think it was okay to just quit her job without telling me and just expect me to be fine with it? My wife has been bombarding me with texts and calls demanding to know where I am and that the kids miss me. I just told her to go find a lawyer and that I was done with her, and then proceeded to block her. My son just sent me a voicemail crying and asking why I was divorcing mom. Forcibly opened my door. Me having panic attacks and being on meds for that since I was 17 freaked the fuck out. However, I hear 2 familiar voices. I rush to the door and see that my dad is at the entrance along with my cousin. I asked what the fuck is going on. I think something horrible must have happened because my parents live across the city. My dad tells me my mom freaked the fuck out because I didn't answer her calls or text messages. I go grab my phone and see that, yup, I had like 20 missed calls from my mom, cousin, and older brother. I didn't hear anything because A, I always put my phone on sleep mode at night, B, I never answer the phone after 10 p.m., and C, I was tired. I rushed out and see my mom and brother. My mom starts yelling at me for making her worry. They were annoying all the fucking building because they didn't know how to use the front door access key. My mom keeps yelling at me for not answering her calls or texts. I tell her that she messaged and called after 10:20 p.m. It's fucking late and I'm tired because I've been writing for almost 24 hours exclusively. She tells me that's no excuse, and also added she worried because my last WhatsApp connection was at like 9 a.m. I remind her she knows I don't grab my phone when I'm busy, and I also don't answer after 10 p.m. She tells me all that mess is my fault because I could have called her before going to sleep. She says she didn't know if I was okay, if something happened to me, if I went to work and didn't go back to my apartment, and many other stuff that she made up in her head. Context: I had a medical emergency a month ago. My parents came here and used my keys, taking me to the ER. My mom hasn't shut up since then and wants me to move back with them, but I left TFO because she's narcissistic. Since I moved out, I have to call her constantly when I'm out, because if I don't, she starts drama. She knows that if I don't call her in 1 or 2 days, it's because I'm not going out. I told my parents I wanted my keys back, and my mom answered she won't return them. I told everyone to GTF away from me, at least for a few days. I feel like they have invaded my privacy. I feel vulnerable thinking they can enter my home every time they want, even when I'm out of town. My brother tells me I'm overreacting and that my mom was just worried. I remind him that our mother is the kind of person that was always asking where we were, even if we didn't leave the house. My parents' house is 50. About my health condition and still went on through with it. The fact that I set clear boundaries and she still chose to quit her job without my consent. How the fact that she told my son that I was going to abandon the family really felt like a stab in the back. How throughout all of this, she didn't even seem remorseful once. The fact that she chose her own happiness to the detriment of mine. The fact I sacrificed so much for the family and I got repaid like this. The fact that we now as a family have to make major lifestyle changes since a third of our family income vanished. For a split second, I saw an ounce of sadness in her eyes before she went right back to being annoyed with me. I then simply told her to lay out her half of the story. Here is a summary of what she said. She felt ignored by me constantly rejecting her proposal. She had worked long enough, and this was finally the time for her to enjoy her life as a true wife. She also said that I was being a baby about the whole spending extra time with the kids thing. That really pissed me off, and we ended up getting into a heated argument. I couldn't bear any of it anymore and just ended up sleeping in the guest room. Until yesterday, nothing changed. She constantly tried to play everything off and wanted to embrace her new role by constantly trying to have sex with me and by making me my favorite dishes. It just felt like she was trying to manipulate me again. I wasn't having any of it. I just kept on sleeping in the guest room. Well, my birthday was yesterday, and after work, my wife and kids picked me up and we ate dinner together. This was probably the first time I genuinely had a smile on my face in a week. Well, that smile vanished because she tried to seduce me again later that night. I rejected her, and to my surprise, she had a full-on mental breakdown. I just held her as she started apologizing for what she did. She claimed she didn't understand how much she hurt me. She was sorry for making me feel like an afterthought, etc. We ended up sleeping in the same bed yesterday. I felt like things were finally moving in the right direction, and I again asked her about searching for a new job today. Instead of getting mad, she just replied with "I need to think about it." Yeah, that's where things are as of today. It feels like progress is being made, but IDK, this just might be another manipulation tactic of hers. I'll probably make a final update in a month or so. Reddit isn't doing my mental health any favors. How would you guys move forward in this situation? Could I have done something better? Is she being genuine? And to those incels who constantly bring up Islam as a way to justify her behavior, please shut the fuck up. My GF told me how often she was intimate with her ex, and now I'm insecure. I, 24M, have been dating this girl, 23F, for about 7 months. Things were going great for the first 5-ish months, and I really liked her. We probably averaged having sex once a week, more at the beginning of the relationship. I would have liked to have sex 2-3x a week, but she's usually only in the mood once. But I never took it personally. Seemed like once a week was working for us. A few weeks ago, she told me she was on an extended period. By the time day 17 of the period came, I had my suspicions, but I never directly questioned it or accused her of anything. Then she told me she didn't want to have sex for a couple more weeks. She didn't want to tell me what it was about, so didn't pry, but I told her no pressure, and she could tell me anything. I should add, during the 2-week period and 3-week break, 5 weeks total from sex. I never tried to initiate and never brought up the topic unless she did first. I was trying to give her some space. Last week, she told me she was ready again, and we had some very mess sex. She didn't seem that into it, and I told her we can keep taking a break. She said no, it was fine, but I could tell something was up. Last weekend, I went out with some buddies for a birthday. Me and her ex-boyfriend are part of the same extended friend group. I see him maybe 2-3x a year, and he's a nice enough dude. We don't talk about her, and I actually didn't put 2 and 2 together that they were exes until about 3 months ago. My GF said they dated a couple years ago for 5 months and that it wasn't that serious. Anyways, I had a few drinks and a fun night and went home. Next day, I got breakfast with the GF, and she was asking about my night. And she goes, "Was my ex there?" I said, "Yes." She goes randomly out of the blue, "So crazy to think me and him used to just fuck twice a day every day." What the fuck? Why did she say that? I don't really care how much sex we have. I want her to be comfortable and happy, but it feels as if she's just rubbing it in. I'm confused, hurt, and quite honestly a little insecure now about sex. Edit, read through a lot of advice. Thanks for the input. I'm going to dump her tomorrow. I don't know how. Cordial I'll be yet, and how I'll decide to quote her specifically on that. Not totally sure I want the whole answer behind it. Read through a lot of your theories about this. And I don't think she cheated. Yeah, the 5 weeks lined up, but I just can't imagine she'd do that, but who knows? It's clear at this point she doesn't respect me, so she may have, but logistically it doesn't make sense. Anyways, thanks for the advice. I think I needed someone else to tell me to break up. It's the obvious answer, but it almost feels like a guilty conclusion, coming to terms with it for now. Thanks, y'all. My ex-husband called me begging me to give him his old life back. Throw away because he uses Reddit regularly. Forgive any grammar mistakes this may have. I grew up speaking Spanish because my parents moved to the US from PR. Me and my husband were teen parents and had our oldest daughter when I was 16 and he was 18. He and I agreed we'd get married and start a family so our daughter would grow up with both parents. I know this wasn't a good decision, but at the time I truly believed we would make it work. We have 3 kids together, 2 sons and 1 daughter. My ex lived in Boston while I and the kids were in SF while he was in college. I finished high school but didn't go to college because he said he'd like for me to be a stay-at-home wife and mom. And I agreed because I wanted us to get along at the time and trusted his judgment. During our marriage, I did most of the housework and dealt with the kids' school stuff, extracurricular activities, play dates, etc. He was very busy during most of it. So whenever he was home, he spent the time he wasn't sleeping playing with the kids, so he didn't make much time for our marriage. I tried my best to entertain him. I wanted him to be interested in me a little more, and I just wanted him to spend time with me. But he refused me most of the time because he was tired from work and other stuff. Our main issue was that he didn't do anything with the kids besides playing with them or buying them things. I was the only one enforcing some type of discipline, and he was undoing all of it. If I scolded any of our kids in front of him, he'd side with the kid and disregard me. It was very frustrating, but I loved him, so I stayed. I basically spent our entire marriage trying to appease him until 2021. In 2021, I found out he slept with a coworker of his. He begged to go to therapy, but I said no. He never believed in couples therapy up until that moment. I was depressed for months because of this. I filed for divorce a week after I found out, and after a lot of resisting, he finally agreed and we had a peaceful divorce. No fighting, no threatening, no nothing. He has the kids on the weekends, and I have them on weekdays, so I see him only on the weekends. After the divorce, we barely talked, mostly because I avoided him, but when I started going out with friends, he started sending me angry messages about the way I was dressing at my age and as a mom. Basically, he started slut-shaming me for going out and living my life without him. He called me crying a few hours ago, begging me to go back to him, to give him his family back, to give him his old life back. He expressed how much he missed his old life and begged me to give it back to him. I didn't hang up, I just listened. I kept listening until he had nothing else to say and hung up. I cried for an hour, and now I'm just thinking of what to do now. I know I can't go back to him because it isn't fair to our kids or to me, but I don't know how to reject him without upsetting him. Am I, 36F, overreacting and being insecure? Or is this shady behavior from my husband? 37M. My marriage hit a rough patch after my third child when I was diagnosed with postpartum depression. Prior to being diagnosed, I had already felt pretty disconnected from my husband, who brushed off my concerns about our relationship when I brought it up to him, stating we are now busy parents. This will be life for a bit, which I felt was pretty fair, so left it at that. Things worsened when I caught him lying about a female coworker, buying her expensive gifts like $200 shoes, visiting her apartment a couple times that I know of, and staying one night till 10 p.m. when he had told me he was out with a childhood friend watching the game. He even sent her flowers one time because she had an event, and it was a nice gesture, but he didn't tell me about it. And the one thing that really bugged me with this is the day before he sent the flowers, he was on me for spending money on toys for the kids. I was a stay-at-home parent at this point, so money was tight. After finding out and talking to him about all the things, and despite my requests of wanting him to limit interactions or be more open and transparent cause, the lying has me feeling weird about their dynamic at this point, but he continues to hide his interactions with her up until present time. Every time I try to get a resolution or find out why he lies, or even at this point, just end the marriage, he goes back to my PPD and says it has created something in my brain where I have all these suspicions and he has to lie to me because I will go crazy, get super jealous, and get insecure. Till this day, he insists their relationship is innocent, which possibly could be the case, but I can't let go of all the stupid lies and more concerned with his inability to keep his word. He has told me several times he will stop, but still continues going behind my back. I've tried solo therapy since he refuses couples counseling and even left temporarily. I just filed for divorce. He acts like nothing's wrong and is being pretty nice at the moment, which is something he usually does when I catch him in a lie. But at this point, I'm drained and conflicted, wondering if I'm overreacting or justified in my feelings and continuing with the divorce. I know the lying is bad, but I have this guilt about breaking up my family because of his constant need to lie to me about his one girl.